Hello, everyone. So I'm back today, and I'm here with a very special guest. I'm here with Anna Hints. Okay, who directed an amazing movie, an amazing documentary. Yeah, you have the T-shirt and everything.
I have the T-shirt.
And
it smokes on a sisterhood.
Exactly, and it's at the Hot Docs Film Festival right now. So if you're in Toronto and you're watching this, you should definitely check it out. I highly recommend it, with whatever credibility I have. And so I have a question for you, just to kind of start this off. What does a documentary actually mean to you?
Documentary, not film, but documentary.
Documentary.
This documentary or overall documentary?
Like, when you think of documentary, what do you think of?
For me, it is really about film. Like, I don't define so much documentary or fiction or animation. It is really about film. It is about something authentic, something that the director needs to say to the world and transcends it through the audiovisual language to the audience. So it is something that comes from heart to hearts. And is it documentary? Is it fiction? Is it animation? These are labels, but in the end it is, what is that what you want to express, or what is that what you really deeply feel inside you needs to be expressed in the form of audiovisual art. So and now when I should somehow more narrow it down to documentary, then for me it is capturing some essence of this reality, some essence, some point of view, some window to a world where maybe the audience haven't been to, or but there's definitely most important is that you have something to express, that it's not just, we don't do films, I don't do films to win awards or have a titled director. It is really
still do win awards, but
this is not why to make films.
Right.
Like I tell this to young filmmakers also, who are like, what it is to become a director, and I always say that this is something. It is kind of like you need to pee. It is some deep feeling inside you, deep need that is you cannot live without it, and
right.
That I think that is the way to make art.
That's actually that peeing analogy. It's a very interesting one. I don't think I've ever heard it being expressed like that, but that actually makes a lot of sense.
So if you need to really I cannot live without expressing myself through films, yes, that is for you.
So this is at least from all the documentaries I've seen, this is a very unique one in my mind. And what if there was one thing you could kind of tell the audience, basically, inform the audience of what do you really want them to take away from this? What would that one thing be?
So should I also explain a bit what this documentary is about? Sure. Maybe. So it is set in smoke sauna, and smoke sauna is a very special place for South Estonia. This is where my roots are also. I come from the smoke sauna culture. It is a place where women used to give birth, wash the dead, and heal. And maybe to connect to this part of the world, it is maybe close to indigenous sweat lodges,
right.
A little bit. And it is a place where one can really be vulnerable. Really, there is no emotion, no experience that is too shameful or too painful to share. Everything can be shared, is allowed to share, and they're listened, and there's huge empowerment through that. So I think what to take away is, besides this experience when you're in the cinema for an hour and a half, that you really feel like you're part of smoke sauna with this sisterhood, with the women, with all this, let's talk about real shit. This thing, it is, and the beauty what is in the cinematography, it is this empowerment, and that that you are not alone with your stories, that you are allowed to share. There is this safe space to express everything, and I hope that it inspires people to be vulnerable and people to create those kind of safe spaces also in wherever they are, and also that it is beyond genders. My focus is on sisterhood, but actually you could start your own safe space where you come together, and whatever gender someone identifies with. And I think we really, really deeply need it as humanity, as humans, because the only way to connect really is there is no other way to be really vulnerable, you know. That's the way to connect, and we are all looking for this intimacy, we're all looking for this connection, and I hope that the film inspires. And right now we are traveling around the world, and I see that it inspires. Like, there was just a woman who came to me, she was like 65 to 70, and she said that all her life she felt that she was really ugly, and she had hated her body. And after watching this Smoke Sauna Sisterhood, she went out, she put an appointment to a photographer, like art photographer, to do beautiful nude pictures of herself and start loving my body before I die. And that was just beautiful, you know, we both cried. And so that is another thing, you know, that, you know, all of us are beautiful, all of us are have our unique voices, and how to accept ourselves and how to accept all the experiences that we have.
So that's actually really interesting, because the thing I noticed, at least, was there are two very stark things in the documentary, one of which was the subject matter, which is discussed, and the other was the way you portrayed the women in, and because you were very you were willing to be like a little bit more, I guess, explicit with the way you showed their bodies, and you're willing to do that even though they aren't, I guess, what you would call like conventionally, you know, skinny or whatever, right? They were, and you were willing to do that. And so what was that kind of like, what was that, why was that the decision made? Because obviously it was made intentionally.
You know, for me, my background, one degree that I have is in photography, so I'm super demanding in my cinematography, and I remember one of the first classes, photography classes that we had, that the professor came in and said, there is nothing like innocent glance. We all have a glance. Also, when you take out camera, there is nothing like objectiveness. You are always, when you point your camera, you put it into a space, this is subjective. So I always put a lot of emphasis with what glance, with what subjectivity do I look at my subject matter. So in this case, because in smoke sauna, this is part of the healing, that you enter there, you take off all the clothes, you're naked. And we share that nakedness, and this nakedness is not sexualized. So for me, it was super important with the cinematographer to really work on this glance, to make sure there's no male gaze, there is no sexualization of the bodies. These are bodies, and every body is beautiful. These are bodies, how to see the bodies as landscapes, how to see the bodies as something very natural, you know. And so that was my deep, very important thing to put emphasis on. And I'm happy to get from feedback from critics and audience that there is no sexualization. So I definitely wanted to shoot in hot sauna, so that temperature there average is like 80 degrees Celsius. It is like, I don't know about how much in Fahrenheit, but it's, I mean, in 100 degrees Celsius water boils. So right. It is like really hot, it's humid, and there are these naked women, and how to show the bodies, how to portray in a way the experience of being born into a female body. That is one of the cornerstones of this film.
So the other thing was the subject matter, and so the subject matter is very blunt, I guess, and then not in a bad way. Obviously, it's in a very good way, but I think you can understand if someone in the audience were to watch this, right? They may say, you know, they may come out with kind of, you know, because there's a lot of talk about abortion, there's a lot of talk about, you know, women being like about rape and all this other stuff. Was that something which you were, you know, excited, or was there some trepidation, at least initially, with these kind of topics being so openly discussed?
So all the stories that are in the film, they are just said in there once. We never like rehearsed or anything. Right. This is happening in front of the camera, and the stories, and like the rape story actually is my own story, and I've never spoken like this ever before, after it happened there. And that is the magic of smoke sauna, what it does, that one session lasts for 4 hours, and within that 4 hours, you know, all these masks that we have, you know, all these superficial things, the superficial layers, they just like, you sweat them out, and the deeper things come out, what is there inside us. So and the tragic reality is that when you go to smoke sauna with women, then all of the women have experienced some kind of sexual assault or some kind of, sad experience. What was more difficult for me was that when I had the material, I did the film for 7 years, like what stories to choose, how they started. I mean, there is not just one rape story in my material, there is like a bunch, so which one to choose, what to do, how to weave it all together so that as an audience you don't like get these hard topics in the beginning. They come out, they come to the surface as in an experience in smoke sauna. So the subject matter, the real subject matter is what I said. It is the experience of being born into this female body. And it is not something innocent. Immediately when you're born, when you have that body, a girl is born, what it said in the film also, there is like already, it's not like a clean plate, There is a lot of, what is it in English? I cannot say the word in English, but it is this expectations, expectations to that body, expectations for you as a female. And also when I've said, when we talk about where is the problem, for example, the problem in patriarchal thinking, it is really in the thinking. It is not about that the problem is men or women, the problem is in the thinking. And this patriarchal thinking is also carried on by a lot of women. Like in the film also, there are mothers who put these expectations to their daughters, and that's what is the power of smoke sauna, that you have this experience. It's really very bodily experience of that warm, dark space surrounded by community, where you can ask yourself, for example, is this life that I'm living really the life that I want to live? This voice that I'm speaking, is this really the voice, my voice, or does this voice belong to my, father or mother or whoever? And it is this safe space in a way to die and be reborn again,
Right.
So these subjects, these stories, they appeared, and then in the edit that took also time, like altogether. I mean, starting from checking all the material already while we were shooting, like 2 years, it was like on and off process. It's really like how to weave it all together and give that experience, and also give that experience from the culture,
Right.
Because I come from that culture and I have this inner compass inside me that when I watch the film, is this the experience? So like for me, the film actually started, or the roots to that film start when I was 11 years old.
Right.
And my grandfather had just died, and his body was in the farmhouse, and we went to smoke sauna before the funeral. Me, my granny, my aunt and niece. And it was only there where my granny said it was only time in her life, to my ears, where she expressed and said that grandfather had betrayed on her and had lived with another woman for some time, and she let out all the anger and frustration and pain and made peace with him. And she really let it all out. We were there, we were supporting, and we went out then after the smoke sauna, after the experience of several hours. We went to the kitchen, we made pies with other village women, and next day we could bury grandfather in peace. And for me it struck that, okay, there is on this earth this safe space where you can share all your shit. Basically, all your shit.
You can get it off your chest. You can kind of clear it from your consciousness.
You can clear it from your consciousness, and there is huge power in that. So when I started the film, I didn't know what stories start to emerge,
Right.
And I was also part of that sisterhood. I was there. I was not somewhere away checking my monitor, clothes on, like, yeah, you speak more. No, I was there naked, literally naked, together with the sisters, and that's also what happened. That my own story started to emerge.
So you talked about kind of picking the stories and some of these other things which you said were difficult. what was the biggest challenge you kind of faced during this long process of creating this documentary? I'm sure there's a lot to choose from.
Many challenges, yes. Many challenges. I think most important for me is, as a director, I think very important tool that we work with, not tool, how do you call it in English? A gift, or it is trust. It is trust, and how to keep that trust, how to be transparent. As a filmmaker, I believe in transparency. Like, I was transparent with the women from the start. I told them what level of honesty I'm looking after, what kind of film I want to make, and I didn't need to persuade anyone, because I feel that would be very wrong to persuade someone to be part of this kind of honest film. They want to be part of. They should need to comment and be part of it. So for me, it was really like, as a director, how to keep that trust, and throughout the process, also in editing, like share them. I shared the cuts with them. I didn't take their voice away, and how to be just sensitive to this material and sensitive in this process. And of course, filmmaking is a collective art. So I'm very lucky to have a wonderful team around me, including producer Marianne Ostrat, who is just behind this door and supporting me, and really like keeping this energy, keeping this sensitivity throughout, and being sure that everyone is okay, because we are talking about extreme situation, extreme place to film, also for cinematographer and sound recorder and everyone. So it's how to be gentle, and how to also keep the sisterhood after the film is done, how to be in contact with them.
So were there stories then which were told, but then they felt like afterwards they were uncomfortable with you keeping it in the documentary, and you were forced to cut them? Like did that happen where something came out kind of in the process, but they kind of reflected on it, or like, I don't feel comfortable with this going out?
There was one story that came out that appeared, and actually the woman said that she would like to have it in the film, but could it be done with another voice, like speaking? And then I said no, because it would not have been the same. It was like a long story. But now she's regretting it, and that's a funny thing what has happened, like because in the 7 years, it was before Me Too movement, social changes have started to happen, and some women have regretted that they were without their face, and now they're like, I would love to have my face now there, or they are like, oh, I'm sad that my story is not there. So now I'm like comforting them and saying, okay, let's see, maybe we can do some podcast or something, and we can figure something out, because absolutely every story that I have in my material is worth sharing. They're powerful stories.
Right. So the faces thing then, because I was going to actually ask you about that, so there's a lot of I guess a lack of faces in the documentary, and it seems intentional.
Yeah, it is. As we started to film it, then it was intentional, but the intention started from the reality when we started to film it, that women were not ready to come out with their faces, and that tells about our society. And we were shooting in South Estonia, and Estonia is a really small country. It's only 1.3 million people, and everybody kind of knows everybody, or knows someone who knows. So it is like, in a way, our country is like a small community, and to be ready to speak out with our faces, there were some women who were ready to do that, some women who were not. And for me, that was no problem, because I thought that it is actually a strong statement, and you can make it as a part of visual language. And now the critics have really pointed it out, that this is so strong, because if there would be more faces, oh, here, this is, this is Anna, this is my story, then you would relate to Anna. But now, when there are no stories, you relate to much more, to this bodily experience of like anonymous collective female body, you know.
Well, I think it's interesting because at least from any documentary I've watched, I found the strongest documentaries are the ones where even if the sound is off, you're still getting something. And I think this is one of those ones where if you just had faces talking, you wouldn't get anything from it without sound, right? And this, you can still get things without sound. And so I found that to be really, really cool, and it's because you found this unique way to do it.
That is very cool. And when I got this in Sundance Festival, the director award, then actually the head of the jury said that this is wonderful, that wow, he said, I didn't know if I had the guts to just stay in smoke sauna and like that, but it was your decision. You didn't go out, you didn't show us, for example, these women somewhere in the town, but it's like these decisions, but you have to make those decisions as an artist, as a filmmaker. That's part of being a director. What is and that's something what I want to always emphasize to filmmakers, or like when somebody asks, so what are your suggestions? Put emphasis into what is your language, what is your audiovisual language, and you can always make your situation, for example, the situation where in the society there are faceless women in a way who do not want to share with their face because they're scared of violence or condemnment. You can put it as your advantage as an artist into your language, into a visual language.
That's fast. That's very fascinating. So I have a question for you, which is, if people want to watch this but they can't see it at Hot Docs, where can they see this?
Wonderful news. We have Canadian distributor. Ooh. We also have USA distributor. So we have actually coming out in more than 20 territories with this film in theater. So it is possible to go to theater, and I really, really recommend to watch this film in cinema, because it was in my mind that this dark cinema space gives you this experience of
to go turn up the heat in the theater.
Yes, you will feel it. It's this darkness, you will feel it, so to go to cinema to.
Do you know when it's going to be out in theaters?
When is it going to be out in theaters? Do you know, Marianna? When is it going to be in Canadian theaters? Where? Millal ta tuleb Kanada kinnadesse, see film?
I think early 2024.
Early 2024. There you go.
But 5th of May, it is still in Hot Docs. Yeah.
So if you can watch in Hot Docs, great. If not, early 2024 in theaters.
Yes.
It's a long wait.
It's a long wait, but let's see. Maybe there are more festivals in I don't know about Canada, but in America there will be early, I think, in cinemas.
And is there a social media you want people to follow?
Yes, there is Instagram, and there is also Facebook of Smoke Sauna Sisterhood, and also my personal Anna Hintz account. Please follow, and when you go to see the film, then I am really very open to all your comments and feedback and answering them step by step.
When this is edited and people are watching this, they'll see your social media handles on the screen. Yay. So that's all good. Thank you. Because I know we have to wrap up. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
It was so great to talk to you. By the way, I love your nails. I
was
staring at them.
Thank you. I painted the nails when the war started, and it's Ukrainian flag flowers, flag colors, and I'm doing it till hopefully this horrible war is over.
Hopefully soon.
Yes.
Thank you again so much, and everyone has to watch your film. Obviously, it's going to be out. We just went over all that, and thank you all for watching, and see you all next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.